Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Ctrl Alt Belong, a space where we explore the people and stories that shape inclusion and belonging in tech. Today's guest is someone whose work literally keeps our digital world safe. Diane is a high tech leader and a product security manager at Ribbon Communications. She spent more than a decade helping telecom and enterprise clients build secure, scalable systems while also mentoring the next generation of women and underrepresented voices in tech. Dan, I'm thrilled to have you here with us. Welcome to Control Alt Belong.
I'm also thrilled to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Anna.
So, Dan, before we dive into cybersecurity and leadership, I wanted to start on a lighter note. So, do you remember the first tech gadget you ever loved?
The first tech gadget I ever loved. So this is going to actually reveal my age. So my first tech gadget that I would say I ever loved was actually your basic laptop. And the reason why I say that is because I remember my first internship job. This was when I was at university. And in the summers, I got a job with IBM, and that was in Jamaica because that's where I'm originally from. And I worked in a big mainframe. These are, that's why I said I'm going to give away my age. So those computers took up entire rooms, right? And to see over in my short, lifespan so far, see that shrink to literally, the watch or the phone
Mhm.
is amazing. And at the time, to think that you could carry your computer with you. So that's the reason why I said, the good old laptop was the technical gadget that really, really appealed to me. Yeah.
You've had such a rich journey from Nokia to Fujitsu to Ribbon Communication, leading complex programs that blend both inclusion and security. What were some of the defining moments along that path for you? Like, what kept you motivated even when the tech environment was changing rapidly around you?
So, actually, when I look back, I can probably identify about five defining moments that really shaped my career path. And the first one actually started very early in my career. As I mentioned, I am originally from Jamaica. That's where I got my first degree, computer science and math. And I worked initially at Fujitsu, which was one of two of the top technology companies in Jamaica, instrumental in bringing a lot of the technologies such as internet and so on, breaking through banking information systems into Jamaica. And I worked primarily in software development at the time, did a bit of interacting in professional services, and about 3 years in, got moved into account development and sales, which was, totally different, but it was technical. And I got a better appreciation of how you can understand the problems that you're solving, why, and get the value proposition. Why, our customers want to purchase these solutions. So you're not only looking at it from the technical perspective, you're now understanding, okay, that's why they they want this particular solution. That being said, I got the bug that I wanted to go back to, learning a bit more. And that's when I took the leap of faith and moved to Canada and pursued my master's degree in computer science. And then I would say the third one was when I landed my first job in Canada, and that would have been with back then it was Alcatel, now Nokia, and working primarily in professional services, moved a bit into partner management and program management at the time. And one of my greatest achievements was laying the foundation for one of their network management solutions. It was a developer portal that helps the developers in the ecosystems integrate their solutions with Nokia's network management telecommunication systems. And then subsequent to that, I would say the fourth was a career move. And this is when I really got, into cybersecurity. All throughout my career, I was working more in network technologies, telecommunications, and so on, and general solutions. But at this point, Nokia was really moving into cloud and network services, and there was an opportunity to be the program manager of two brand new solutions which had to do with securing SIM technology. That's the technology that allows your phone to work, as well as a broader 5G technology. So that was, amazing, and as always, intrigued and interested, and as a result, that broadened my view and gave me a bit more depth into what's involved in securing such solutions. And that also helped me to move into my current role now, where I'm at Ribbon Communications as a product security program manager, spearheading, developing solutions for their customers, kind of along the same lines that I did at Nokia, where we can secure the customers' products for that. That's the products that they have that are implemented. Yeah. So that's kind of my journey. And one thing that I've learned over that period, I would say, is to always be curious, always be learning, and taking that leap of faith sometimes can be, a bit overwhelming, but in the long run, you keep growing, and it has been exciting. Yes.
Honestly, it's very inspiring to just hear about your journey. I feel like it will resonate with a lot of our audience as well, because everyone is either in one of those five phases that you've mentioned, like either taking that leap of faith, or they've taken that leap of faith and now they're trying to discover what's next for them. And that kind of brings me on to the next question of how you moved from sales and like from the product and technical aspect of it to cybersecurity. For many of us, including me, the word cybersecurity itself is very intimidating and mysterious in some aspect. So what would you say to someone who's curious about entering the cybersecurity space but doesn't know how to start or where to start? What would be maybe say a starting point for them that you would recommend that they should touch upon or get to know more?
Okay, so you're actually at the right place. You have to be curious. And I would say that's fundamental. And one of the good news, we are living in an age right now where, you know, being curious, you'll get answers just by, with AI tools, right? So nothing is hidden anymore. Nothing is only locked into the universities and, you have to have a PhD, that kind of thing. No, you just really have to have first and foremost a curious mind. I would break it into two key areas. There's the technical side, they tend to call the hard skills that you need to gain. And then there's the power skills. And what is actually quite interesting to learn, and this is a report that I came across earlier this year, which is the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs 2025. You should check it out. You'll notice that in their top 10, they have the top, I think, AI, big data, cybersecurity, network technologies, those hard skills are, first and second, I believe. But the power skills, which is curiosity, creativity, problem solving, analytical mindset, all of those tend to be, they're there as well. So it's interesting that the human skills, as they are now being termed, are skill sets that you actually need to develop along with the technical skills. So if I were to go back to the technical skills, you have to have an understanding as to how data moves. How do systems interconnect? So learning about networks, operating systems, how they can be threatened. How do you respond to incidents? Everything is now in the cloud. As I mentioned, when back in my day when it was just mainframes and nothing was connected, now everything is connected and so on. So understanding with that, things are even more threatened, because before you would have it on premise. They have the idea of on premise systems where it's within the control of the organization. Now it's not. It's out there in the cloud, which is just code for another person's computer, right? That is managing that service. So how do you get to learn about these systems? You have to do certain certifications. There are a lot of them out there, like CompTIA Security Plus, if you want to become what they call a certified ethical hacker, which means that um, you learn how to break systems. So that's fun, eh? You learn how to get into systems. And if you go online, you'll learn that they have labs and cyber ranges and things of that nature. And then you have the defense, right, where you learn how to defend against, protect the systems. And you also have governance, risk, and compliance. That's for folks who like to put the systems in place, the frameworks, and so on. You find that that tends to be less technical.
Mhm.
It's actually suited for folks who, probably in legal or auditing, who can, good at even project management. That's where I came from, right? So that's how I broke into to the area. Um, and what is happening these days, yes, it's probably good for you to, ideally, it depends on organizations. They're also going to want to make sure that you have experience. And I've been seeing online, and I know it's a bit frustrating. I think that has to do, you hear that, oh, as I mentioned with the World Economic Forum, that cybersecurity positions, there are so many of them, yet they're not being filled because you have that chicken and egg scenario where they want people with experience, but how are you going to get the experience until you actually get a job to gain that experience? I understand. I don't know myself, but I believe that there are organizations out there that are offering the opportunity for you to try, like if you're doing ethical hacking, to learn while you are trying to gain your certification. And then you can use that to add to your portfolio and you can show proof because these days, when you have your resume, you want to have a portfolio to say, hey, I accomplished this and this is how I did it, right? Um, so there's that. And then you also, I would strongly recommend that you join professional organizations. For example, I'm part of the Women in Security. There is, oh gosh, I'm going to forget their name, CCN, Canadian Cybersecurity Forum. Try to attend as much as possible, and network with find these professional organizations so that you can meet people in the field. In a lot of cases, they will provide mentorship, so that they can give you better guidance as to how to break into the system. And going back to the human skills, I actually came up, I shouldn't say came across, came up with an acronym for the power skill. It's called CARE. And these are the C stands for back to being curious and creative. The A stands for developing your analytical and adaptability skills because in the security world, what used to work 2 years ago, no, it has changed so much and so rapidly. You have to not have a fixed mindset. You have to adapt. And then the R is for resilience. You have to be very, very resilient because especially if you're working as an analyst or having to work in what they call the security operations center where threats are coming in and you have to be keeping at it and being uh, receptive to knowing that, hey, how do I solve this? How do I ensure that I'm keeping abreast of what's coming in and so on? And then the last one I would say E is empathy, is to be empathetic. You have to care that you are protecting. You have to, you're not only protecting systems, you're protecting people. A lot of the breaches affects individuals as well as companies and their bottom line. So you have to treat it with respect and also go beyond just thinking of it as, oh, it's just a job, think of it as really protecting not only systems but people at the end of the day. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting, and it does surprise me like the people side of technology has so many things that you need to inculcate as well as adapt and learn as a part of your job that's technical as well. Uh, just moving on, like beyond your technical work, you've been such a strong advocate for women and underrepresented voices in tech, especially through your work through your leadership in women in communications and technology in the National Capital Region. How does how does mentorship tie into your philosophy of leadership, especially in while building inclusive communities within the tech environment?
I think it's actually quite critical. And I should let you know that one of the main reasons when I joined that organization, going back to encouraging, and this is not for young folks only, it's for anybody. You can be mentored at any time, any point in your career. And at the time when I was trying to figure out what my next was, and I realized because a lot of times, especially when you get caught up with family, and I'm also an immigrant in a new country and just trying to, you know, to do life, you're just trying to um, survive, so to speak. But if you don't expand your network and it's just restricted to your team, if you're not building that resiliency in the event that anything should happen, like, and as we know, there's a lot of job losses and so on. So it's important. I call it that you need to have, just like a company has board of directors, you need to have your personal board of directors, of which one of the person is your mentor. You have to have coaches, you have to have your support systems. And if you can get a sponsor, that's even that's even better. And just to kind of show you the difference, a mentor is somebody who you can talk, learn from. So if you're interested, say, for example, in cybersecurity, you would find somebody or try to see if you can seek somebody who can, who has that experience and can guide you, you know, because they have that experience. A coach kind of is somebody that will help you, you ask you a lot of questions. Think of like if you have like a basketball coach, they may not necessarily be good at basketball themselves, but they help you to be, because you have the skill set to be good at that particular skill, right? And then the sponsor now is somebody who goes beyond coaching and or mentoring. They would actually say, hey, Anna is very good at the work she does. I recommend her for this particular role because they are in a place of influence that they can um, advocate for you, because they know you and they know what you are capable of doing, right? So that's what I would advise anybody to get, that personal board of directors. And the only way you can get that is by expanding your network. And it can start with finding mentors, finding coaches, and eventually finding sponsors. So one of the things that WCT allowed me to do, as I mentioned, was get mentorship. And from that, it allowed me to gain confidence, allowed me to go into spaces and do things that were uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable. And as a result of that, it elevates your visibility, so that you now start meeting people. And even if you are, like you, for example, you're working, you're volunteering with Tech to Step, you're doing, this podcast, maybe social media, and so on. It allows you to meet other people, and then it allows you to expand your network naturally. And what I have found over the years is people more often than not are willing to help. You know, when you don't have that help and you are alone, especially if you don't know anybody, don't have any networks, and you're just keying in from a computer randomly to some job sites. It's quite isolating, right? So to work, that's why I think mentorship is one of the key areas to try and find and join mentorship programs if they're available to you, or opportunities of such can only be an extra toolkit in your, uh, you know, career advancement journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel like it's so important for us to even like understand what the terms mentor, coach, and sponsor means and how it reflects back into our journey of choosing the right career or like even just advancing in the goals that we have set. And yeah, it is isolating, especially when you move to a different country or when you're just switching gears in your career field as well.
Yeah.
I I resonate with that, and I feel like yeah, this is Tech to Step has been one of the ways where I have been able to network and meet people who are not just in my field but at different fields as well, and that gives me a different perspective on life, on things like it just doesn't have to be about work and how do I land a job, but there's so many different aspects of building your skills, being curious. It's it's amazing to learn such things and experiences, and it only happens when you start networking and meeting more people and building your board of directors, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Um, my next question to you, Diane, is like you mentioned, like we touched upon this earlier, but technology keeps evolving, and we've seen it with AI, with automation and cloud systems. Our understanding of security is also changing. So, where do you see the biggest opportunities for innovation and inclusion to intersect in the future?
So this is a very interesting question because as um, everybody knows with AI and the advances in it, AI, it's and the innovation that AI is going to bring, um, it's accelerating at such a rapid pace that there's a threat of innovation affecting inclusion. And I should say that I have been following this MIT researcher. Her name is Joy Buolamwini, who was primarily doing research using AI to do facial recognition. And in a documentary called Coded Bias, she discovered that the facial recognition system did not detect her face, primarily because she's dark skinned. But when she used the white mask, it did detect. So that meant that the AI system was being trained on, you know, faces that are not typically, her skin. And what this means is that um, it opened up her eyes and she became a strong advocate, starting an organization called the Algorithmic Justice League, which was primarily for advocating for fairness in AI and inclusion in AI. She actually has a term called the X-coded, which means um, uh, people or groups who are excluded from the code that is being used to train these AI systems. And because AI, by its nature mimics what humans have done historically and the stories that are being told, the what's going to what you're going to find happening is that the narrative that is accepted by the majority will obviously in most cases or some cases, I shouldn't say all, include our biases. And that means that inequity now will have the challenge of, or inequity will probably be automated at scale, which is not what we want. We want more inclusion. So it will be up to groups to be aware of this and put in the guardrails. Like in her documentary as well, there was mention of a case where women were excluded from an AI recruiting tool used by Amazon because it learned mostly on male hires as a successful hire. So it's things like that that we have to ensure that as this great technology comes on board, it needs to be responsible. It needs to have the proper guardrails. It needs to be, even if it's, you're going to have cyber criminals who will take advantage of its biases, and even well-intentioned systems might have blind spots because, we're infusing that into the systems, right? So ethical oversight is going to become the new firewall in keeping humanity at the center of the innovation. In essence, what I'm saying is that future-proofing security is really about future-proofing trust and the trust will only hold if everyone has a seat at the table. And similarly, one of the lovely things with the internet is that there is democratization of access, but with that comes the responsibility to ensure that it's still not being controlled by the few. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this raises like a lot of important questions and important discussions that need to be more prevalent in terms of biases, in terms of ethical use of AI, and even bringing out awareness among the users. So these are important conversations, and this does look like where the future is headed. Just to end up and wrap up the conversations, I have a few quick fire questions for you, Diane. Are you ready? This is going to be
Sure.
easy.
Bring it
This is
on. Bring it on. Bring it on.
as complicated as cybersecurity, but yeah. Okay, so one word that describes your leadership style.
I would say empathetic. I strongly believe that until you put yourself in the shoes of others, you and come out of your own headspace, you get a different perspective and a better understanding and meet people where they are and try to bring them along. Now that makes it a lot more difficult, but I think at the end of the day, that's what will root trust, and uh, that for sure in my experience at any rate, has allowed me to um, have people trust what I am going to deliver for them in terms of whether it be coaching or mentoring them and giving them the agency to make decisions. And even if they do make mistakes, we learn from it and we keep moving forward. And when you have that trust, then you have more of a commitment. People are motivated, and it's a win-win as opposed to a win-lose when you think only about yourself.
Absolutely. Okay, we've kind of touched upon this, but again, in your opinion, the most underrated skill in cybersecurity.
So yes, we have said it many times. You have to be curious. You have to be a lifelong learner. If you are the type of person, and don't get me wrong, this is something that people need to be honest with themselves. And I've come across that, and you can't force a mindset on folks that are not ready. So if you're the type of person who I just want to go in, do my work and go home, it's not for you because it's going to change and you're going to get stale.
My next one is a quote or mantra that keeps you grounded.
So there's this particular quote that I love, and it talks about the true meaning of life. Because at the end of the day, no matter your profession, why are we here? What is our purpose? And the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. And the reason I like that quote, and it's my personal mantra, is that we are ultimately put on this earth not to serve ourselves. Of course, for sure, you can't pour from an empty cup. So you need to, fill yourself up so that whatever overflows you give to others, right? And that impact is not felt during your lifetime, but you know, once you are gone, you leave good in the world. So that's really what I live by.
That's beautiful. Okay, my final one is, and if you weren't in tech, what would you be doing?
So this is an interesting one because it's kind of revealing something that I have been working on. Um, so surprise, surprise. Um, I, as you have kind of mentioned, I haven't really gone into it in detail, but one of the things that I'm passionate about is, yes, having worked with women in communication and technology, but it's also the pipeline of women, which means going down to the girls and getting them interested in technology. So I'm actually writing a book. Um, specifically targeting the age group, which is the mid, like 8 to 12 age group, because the studies have shown that's the age when, especially for young girls, that they lose interest in the sciences. So the idea of writing a book has stuck with me since I have a daughter. And I noticed, when she got to that age, a lot of the uh, entertainment or edutainment, as you would call it, wasn't really there. It was missing. And so with this book, which I would say I have a first draft ready, so that's what I would be hoping to do and get it out there into the world. And I will just say, stay tuned.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm so glad you revealed that to us. Congratulations. We are hoping to get you back once your book is released again on this podcast and let's talk more about it. But Diane, thank you so much for joining us. This is such a powerful conversation. I love how you weaved inclusion and technology. You've given us the skills that we need to move forward. And I hope it's going to inspire a lot of our viewers who are watching and who want to enter the cybersecurity space. Thank you so much. Your journey has truly been inspiring. Thank you for sharing it with us.
And thank you so much for having me. And one thing I should say, I found it intriguing that your podcast is called Control Alt Belong. And I especially like the belong um, term because um, my exposure to, DEI and so on, belong is such a powerful word that a lot of us take for granted. That you can have diversity, you can have equity, you can have inclusion, but if you don't feel like you belong in a certain space, then none of that doesn't even matter. So kudos to you and the TechTocept team. That's another reason why I joined the TechTocept team, that I think it's so important to feel that you belong in certain spaces and gain that confidence as we all grow together and yeah, get through this thing called life. So thanks again, Anna, for having me. And yes, I will take you up on that invitation to come back once the book is out there.
Absolutely. We're counting on that.
Okay.
Thank you, Diane.